Betrayal countdown. My husband left me. 8 months pregnant for his work trip, but was actually funding his secret second family. Now he wants half my inheritance. The contractions began at 3:17 a.m. on what should have been a normal Tuesday in April. I fumbled for my phone, wincing as another wave of pain crashed through me. 8 months and 2 weeks pregnant, this wasn't supposed to be happening yet. My fingers trembled as I pulled up my husband's contact. 3 rings, 4, 5. You've reached David Mitchell. Leave a message. I tried again and again. Nothing. Where was he? Supposedly on a business trip to Chicago, but he wasn't answering my increasingly frantic calls. As I dialed my sister instead, I had no idea that this night would mark only the beginning of a betrayal, so profound it would redefine everything I thought I knew about my marriage. I couldn't have imagined that while I was being rushed to the hospital, terrified of delivering our premature baby alone, David was actually cradling another woman's infant, his son, born just 3 months earlier to a family I never knew existed. And I certainly couldn't have predicted that 6 months later, when my grandmother's unexpected inheritance gave me a financial lifeline, the same man who abandoned me during my darkest hour would emerge from the shadows, demanding half of what was rightfully mine. This is my story, a warning, a countdown of betrayal that began long before I realized the clock was ticking. The perfect life, or so I thought. Looking back, there were red flags. There are always red flags. But when you're living in what you believe is a happy marriage, you don't see them as warnings. You see them as quirks, as small puzzles to be solved through love and patience. David and I met in our final year of college. He was charismatic, ambitious, and attentive in ways that made me feel like the center of his universe. Our courtship was a whirlwind, and within 18 months, we were married in the small chapel where my parents had exchanged their vows 30 years earlier. "We're building a dynasty," David would say, his eyes bright with visions of our future. "The Mitchell name is going to mean something." For 5 years, that future seemed to be unfolding exactly as planned. David's career in financial consulting took off. I established myself as an art therapist at a children's hospital. We bought a charming Tudor-style home in a neighborhood with excellent schools. When we decided to start trying for a baby, I got pregnant within 2 months. "See?" David said, kissing my forehead when we saw the positive test. "Everything happens right on schedule for us." The first 6 months of my pregnancy were blissful. David attended every appointment, his hand firmly gripping mine as we listened to our daughter's heartbeat. He spent weekends assembling nursery furniture and reading parenting books. Friends commented on how involved he was, how lucky I was. "You've got the 1 in a million," my best friend Megan said during my baby shower. "A unicorn husband." But unicorns, as it turns out, don't exist. And neither did the man I thought I'd married. The first cracks. The changes were subtle at first. Around my 6th month of pregnancy, David's work trips became more frequent. What used to be 1 overnight stay a month became weekly absences, sometimes stretching from Tuesday to Friday. "The Anderson account is massive," he explained when I expressed concern. "If I land this, we'll be set financially. I can even consider cutting back hours after the baby comes." It made sense. We were about to become a family of 3, and financial security mattered. So I swallowed my loneliness and focused on preparing for our daughter's arrival. Then came the missed appointments. First, the 28-week ultrasound. An emergency client meeting kept him away. Then the childbirth class, a last-minute flight he couldn't reschedule. Each absence came with profuse apologies and small gifts: a sterling silver baby bracelet, organic onesies, a spa day for my glowing wife. I believed him because I wanted to, needed to believe him. The alternative was too frightening to consider. The weekend before everything fell apart, David was unusually attentive. He made breakfast in bed, massaged my swollen feet, and took me shopping for final baby items. "I have to go to Chicago on Monday," he said as we drove home. "The Anderson deal is in its final stages. 3 days, 4 max, and then I'm all yours until the baby comes." I nodded, relieved. My due date was still 6 weeks away, plenty of time for him to wrap up work and be fully present for our daughter's birth. "Promise?" I asked, half joking. He took my hand and kissed it, eyes on the road. "Cross my heart, Ellie. Nothing could keep me away from you and our little girl." 48 hours later, as contractions ripped through my body and my calls went unanswered, those words echoed in my mind like a cruel taunt. The night. Everything changed. My sister Kate made it to my house in record time, her face tight with worry as she helped me into her car. "Still no answer from David?" she asked, already knowing. I shook my head, gripping the dashboard as another contraction hit. "Something's wrong. This isn't like him." Kate's expression said everything her words didn't. This was exactly like him, at least the version of him she'd observed recently. Kate had never fully warmed to David, maintaining a polite distance that I'd attributed to their different personalities. Now I wondered if she'd seen something I'd been blind to. At the hospital, events moved with terrifying speed. My blood pressure was dangerously high. The baby was in distress. An emergency C-section was required. "We need to contact your husband," the nurse said, clipboard in hand. "He's not answering," I replied, tears streaming down my face. From pain, from fear, from a growing sense of abandonment I couldn't yet fully comprehend. Kate stepped forward. "I'm her sister. I'll be with her." As they prepped me for surgery, I tried David one last time. To my shock, he answered on the second ring. "Ellie?" His voice sounded guarded, background noise suggesting he was in a public place. "David, I'm at the hospital. The baby, she's coming early. Something's wrong and they're—" "Hospital? But you're not due for weeks." His voice dropped to a whisper. "I can't get back right now. I'm in the middle of the Anderson presentation." A woman's voice murmured something unintelligible in the background. "David, please. I'm scared." My voice broke. A long pause. "I'll see what I can do," he finally said, and the line went dead. I handed the phone to Kate, her face a mask of fury. "He's not coming," I whispered as they wheeled me toward the OR. Kate squeezed my hand. "Then he doesn't deserve to be here. You can do this, Ellie. I'm right beside you." 2 hours later, Lily Mitchell entered the world at 4 pounds, 7 ounces, tiny but fierce, with a healthy set of lungs and her father's dark eyes. As the nurses placed her in my arms, I felt a love so overwhelming it momentarily eclipsed the pain of David's absence. But only momentarily, because David never showed up. Not that night, not the next day, not even when we were discharged 3 days later. Lily deemed healthy enough to go home despite her early arrival. What we did receive was a text message. "Caught up in meetings. Flight delayed. Will explain everything when I'm back. Love you both." 6 words that would haunt me. Will explain everything when I'm back. Little did I know how devastating that explanation would be. The truth emerges. For 5 days after returning home with Lily, I existed in a fog of confusion, sleep deprivation, and growing dread. David's sporadic texts provided little information. More delays, client complications, promises to be home soon. Kate stayed with me, her concern evident but unspoken as she helped care for Lily and kept the house running. Friends dropped off meals and gifts, their congratulations tinged with awkward questions about David's absence that I couldn't answer. On the 6th day, as I nursed Lily in the nursery David had so lovingly prepared, the doorbell rang. Kate answered, and moments later appeared in the doorway, her face ashen. "Ellie?" she said carefully. "There's someone here to see you. A woman. She says it's important." Adjusting my clothing and cradling Lily against my shoulder, I made my way to the living room. The woman who stood there was perhaps my age, maybe younger, her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She held a baby carrier, a tiny infant sleeping inside. "I'm sorry to come like this," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "But I didn't know what else to do. My name is Vanessa Harris." "I don't understand," I said, instinctively holding Lily closer. "Do I know you?" "No," she replied, eyes darting to my daughter. "But we have something in common. We both have a child with David Mitchell." The world tilted sideways. I felt Kate grab my elbow, guiding me to the sofa before my knees could buckle. "That's not possible," I whispered, though even as the words left my mouth, the pieces were clicking into horrible alignment. The increased business trips over the past 2 years, the mysterious phone calls, the unexplained expenses I'd glimpsed on statements before David assured me they were work reimbursements. Vanessa placed the carrier gently on the floor and reached into her purse, extracting a folder. "I thought you might say that. Here's my son's birth certificate. David James Harris Mitchell, 3 months old." She paused, swallowing hard. "And here are photos of David with us, dating back 4 years. 4 years, 1 year before our wedding." With trembling hands, I accepted the folder. The evidence was irrefutable. Photos of David, my husband, embracing this woman outside a different house. David cradling a newborn in a hospital room. David building a swing set in an unfamiliar backyard. "He told me he was divorced," Vanessa said, her voice breaking. "That his ex-wife was bitter and unstable. We built a life together in Minneapolis. He comes home to us 3 or 4 days each week. He said his job required him to split time between offices." Minneapolis, not Chicago. Never Chicago. "When did you last see him?" Kate asked, her arm protectively around my shoulders. "That's why I'm here," Vanessa replied. "He was with us last week, but left suddenly Monday afternoon, saying he had a work emergency in Boston. He hasn't returned my calls since yesterday. His phone goes straight to voicemail." Monday afternoon, right when my labor began. "He's not in Boston," I said numbly, "and he's not answering my calls either." We stared at each other, 2 women betrayed, each holding a piece of David Mitchell's fractured legacy. The missing pieces. David had vanished, not just from my life or Vanessa's, but seemingly from existence. His office confirmed he hadn't been to work in over a week. His parents, when I finally worked up the courage to call them, hadn't heard from him in months, a revelation that added another layer to his deception, as he'd frequently claimed to be visiting them on weekends. A week after Vanessa's visit, a detective sat in my living room, taking notes as I explained the situation. "Mrs. Mitchell, I have to ask, are you certain you want to report him missing? From what you've described, this appears to be a case of voluntary abandonment." The words stung, but I knew they were true. "I need to know where he is," I insisted, "for my daughter's sake, and for practical reasons." The practical reasons were mounting. Our joint accounts had been drained, over $40,000 gone. The mortgage payment was due. Lily's medical bills from her premature birth were arriving daily. The detective nodded sympathetically. "We'll do what we can, but I should warn you, if he doesn't want to be found, and he's planned this carefully, it might take time." Time was a luxury I didn't have. With a newborn dependent on me and my maternity leave providing only partial income, financial disaster loomed. That night, after placing Lily in her bassinet, I forced myself to face the mountain of paperwork I'd been avoiding: bank statements, credit card bills, insurance policies. As I sorted through them, a pattern emerged. Regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Hotel charges in Minneapolis. Double expenses for everything from cell phone bills to streaming services. For over 3 years, David had been maintaining 2 complete and separate lives. The financial strain must have been enormous, explaining why our savings had never grown despite our seemingly comfortable income. One document gave me pause. A life insurance policy David had taken out on himself just 6 months earlier, naming me as the beneficiary. The amount was substantial, $750,000, enough to pay off our mortgage and provide for Lily's future. For a terrible moment, a thought crossed my mind. Was it possible he had harmed himself, unable to face the consequences of his dual life? I pushed the thought away, focusing instead on the immediate steps needed to protect myself and Lily. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Legal limbo. "Bigamy is a crime in this state," said Miranda Hoffman, the divorce attorney Kate had recommended. She scanned the documents I'd brought, her expression grave. "But proving it requires finding him first. In the meantime, we need to freeze any remaining assets and file for emergency spousal support." "What about his other family?" I asked, the words still feeling surreal on my tongue. "Legally, you're his wife. The marriage to you is valid. Any subsequent marriage would be void. But if he never legally married this Vanessa person, she has different challenges. Has she established paternity for her child?" I nodded. "David's name is on the birth certificate." "That helps her case for child support at least." Miranda made notes in her elegant handwriting. "Have you spoken with her since that first meeting?" In fact, Vanessa and I had developed an unlikely alliance born of shared betrayal. We spoke daily, comparing notes and supporting each other through the emotional and practical fallout of David's deception. "She's as much a victim as I am," I explained. "She's struggling financially too. David apparently told her he was investing their money in some property deal, but now she can't access it." Miranda's eyes narrowed. This is starting to sound like more than just a man running from his responsibilities. If he's taken substantial amounts of money from both households and disappeared, we might be looking at fraud as well. 2 more weeks passed without word from David. The police investigation yielded nothing. His cell phone was inactive, his credit cards unused, his passport hadn't been flagged at any border. Then came the letter from my grandmother's attorney. Unexpected inheritance. My grandmother, Elizabeth, had always been a private woman. Living modestly in her small New England cottage, she had raised my mother alone after my grandfather's early death. Growing up, I'd spent summers with her, learning to garden and bake and appreciate the simple pleasures of a life well lived. She had passed away peacefully in her sleep 2 months before Lily's birth, leaving me heartbroken but grateful she had lived a full 92 years. I'd assumed her cottage and modest savings would be divided among her 3 grandchildren, as she had often suggested. The attorney's letter revealed a different reality. "Dear Ms. Eleanor Mitchell, as the executor of Elizabeth Morgan's estate, I am pleased to inform you that you are the sole beneficiary of your grandmother's trust, valued at approximately $2.7 million. Per her instructions, this information was to be disclosed only after her passing and the completion of a full accounting of her assets." I read the letter 3 times, certain there must be a mistake. My grandmother, practical, frugal Grandma Liz, a secret millionaire? The attorney explained during our meeting the following day. "Your grandmother made several wise investments in her youth, primarily in pharmaceutical stocks. She never touched the principal, living only on her pension and the dividends. Over 70 years, with reinvestment, it grew to millions. I finished, still stunned. Precisely. And she was quite specific that the inheritance goes solely to you, not to be included as marital property. For the first time since Lily's birth, I felt a weight lift. This changed everything. I could provide for my daughter without fear. I could keep our home. I could even help Vanessa and her son if needed. A strange thought, but one that felt right. I called Vanessa immediately after the meeting, sharing the unexpected news. Her reaction surprised me. Ellie, I'm so relieved for you, but you need to be careful. If David finds out... Why would he? He's gone. A long pause. I got a text yesterday, from a number I didn't recognize. It just said, soon. I think it's him. The chill that ran through me was instant and bone deep. Have you told the police? Yes, but they said it's not exactly a threat, just creepy. That night, cradling Lily as she slept, I felt a growing sense of unease. The inheritance should have been a blessing, but instead it felt like another complication in an already tangled web. I called Miranda first thing the next morning. We need to protect this money, I said without preamble. If David comes back, he's back, she interrupted. My paralegal just forwarded me an email. David Mitchell has filed a response to our divorce petition, contesting it on grounds of abandonment, claiming you forced him out. My laugh was hollow. That's absurd. I was in the hospital giving birth. It gets worse. He's seeking half of all marital assets, full custody of Lily, and, this is brand new information, he's making a claim on any inheritance you've received during the marriage. The room seemed to spin. How could he know about the inheritance already? The attorney just told me yesterday. Someone's been watching you, Ellie. The timing is too convenient. As we spoke, my email pinged with a new message. From David. We need to talk. I know about the money. Half belongs to me. I've sacrificed everything for our family. One meeting, just us. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., the boathouse at Evergreen Park. Don't bring your sister or that lawyer. This can be simple or it can get ugly. Your choice. He's insane if he thinks I'd meet him alone, I said to Miranda after forwarding her the email. Her response was immediate. Don't go. This is exactly how abusers operate. Isolation is their first tactic. We'll file an emergency hearing with the judge tomorrow morning. But as we finished our call, another email arrived, this one with an attachment. A photo of me, taken through my kitchen window, holding Lily as I prepared her bottle. It had been taken that morning. I'm closer than you think, Ellie. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Come alone, or the custody battle gets very, very public and painful. The countdown begins. Sleep was impossible that night. Every creak in the old Tudor house jolted me awake, convinced David had found a way inside. I moved Lily's bassinet into my bedroom, checking the locks twice before settling into an uneasy vigil. By morning, I had made my decision. I would meet David, but not alone, and not on his terms. Absolutely not, Kate insisted when I told her. This man is unstable, dangerous even. I need to face him, I said firmly, but I'll be protected. Miranda arranged everything, a private investigator positioned nearby, a recording device hidden in my purse, and Kate watching from a discreet distance. The police were notified, but warned they couldn't intervene without evidence of a threat. As 3 p.m. approached, I arrived at Evergreen Park, the autumn leaves creating a deceptively beautiful backdrop for what might be the most difficult confrontation of my life. The boathouse, where David had proposed 5 years earlier, stood isolated at the edge of the lake. My heart hammered as I approached, expecting to see him waiting. But the boathouse was empty. David! I called out, my voice echoing. You came alone. Good. I spun around. David emerged from behind a large oak tree, looking both familiar and like a stranger. He was thinner, his normally impeccable appearance now disheveled. But his eyes, those were what had changed most. Cold, calculating. "Where have you been?" I demanded, anger suddenly overriding fear. "Our daughter was born 6 weeks ago. You missed everything." He waved dismissively. "I had things to handle, complications, but I'm back now, and we have business to discuss." "Business? Is that what you call abandoning your pregnant wife? Or maintaining a second family for years? Or draining our accounts before disappearing?" Something flashed across his face. Surprise that I knew about Vanessa, perhaps. "Complications," he repeated. "Temporary setbacks. But your grandmother's money changes everything. We can start fresh. Pay off my debts. Move somewhere new." "We?" I interrupted. "There is no we anymore, David. Just me and Lily." His expression hardened. "That's not how marriage works, Ellie. What's yours is mine, including the inheritance." "Actually, that's not how the law works," I countered, thanking Miranda silently for preparing me. "The inheritance was specifically left to me alone, protected from marital division. And since you committed fraud and bigamy, you'll be lucky if you don't end up in jail." David took a step closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You think you figured everything out, don't you? The perfect victim. But you don't know the whole story. Not even close." "Then tell me. Why, David? Why live this elaborate lie? What was the point of any of it?" For a moment, vulnerability cracked his facade. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. Vanessa was first. We were together before I met you. But then you came along, with your family connections, your promising career. You fit the image better. I thought I could manage both, build something bigger than either of you understood." "Manage both? We're not corporations to be merged, David. We're people, with hearts and lives you shattered." He shrugged, the momentary humanity vanishing. "Everyone uses everyone, Ellie. I just did it more efficiently than most, and now I need that money. There are people expecting repayment, dangerous people. Half the inheritance. That's all I'm asking. Sign the agreement I've had drawn up, and I'll walk away. You'll never see me again." "And if I refuse?" His smile chilled me to the bone. "Then I'll take Lily. I'll fight for full custody. I'll drag your name through every court in the state. I'll make sure everyone knows how you forced me out, how you're keeping my daughter from me out of spite. By the time I'm done, you'll wish you had taken this deal." Before I could respond, a voice called from behind me. "That's enough, David." Vanessa emerged from the trees, her phone held out in front of her. "I've recorded everything. Your threats, your admission about the dangerous people expecting money." David's face contorted with rage. "You stupid—" "The police are on their way," came another voice, Kate, stepping forward. "Along with your parents." "My parents? What do they have to do with this?" As if on cue, an elderly couple appeared on the path. David's parents, whom I'd met only twice during our marriage. His mother's face was tight with resolution, his father's with disappointment. "Everything," his mother said coldly. "We've signed affidavits about the money you borrowed from us, supposedly for your business, actually for maintaining your double life, about the lies you told both families, about the gambling debts you tried to hide." David looked wildly from face to face, like a cornered animal. "You planned this, all of you, against me." "Neil." "No, David," I said quietly. "We're just finally telling the truth, all of us. As the police approached in the distance, David made a desperate lunge toward me. Kate stepped between us, but it was Vanessa who reached him first, her hand connecting with his face in a slap that echoed across the lake. "That's for my son," she said through tears. "And for Ellie's daughter. And for every lie you told." Epilogue, 1 year later. The seasons have cycled once more. Autumn leaves again carpet Evergreen Park, where I sit watching Lily take wobbly steps on the grass, her first birthday just weeks away. David pleaded guilty to fraud and financial exploitation, receiving a 5-year sentence. The full extent of his deception proved even greater than we'd imagined. A third woman in Seattle, investment scams targeting his clients, gambling debts to dangerous characters. The man I thought I knew had never existed. The inheritance remains untouched, except for one portion, a trust established for both Lily and David James, Vanessa's son. They will have educational opportunities and security that their father tried to steal from them. Vanessa and I meet weekly, an unlikely friendship born from shared trauma. Our children, half-siblings with their father's dark eyes, play together while we talk about healing, about moving forward, about learning to trust again. David's parents have become surrogate grandparents to both children. Their love and support, a reminder that family is defined by choice and commitment, not merely by blood or legal documents. As for me, I'm finally using my art therapy training to help others who have experienced betrayal and loss. Each day brings new challenges, but also new joys. Lily's first words, her curious exploration of the world, her resilient spirit so unlike her father's. The countdown that began with betrayal now marks different milestones. Days of independence, moments of strength, steps toward a future defined not by what was taken from us, but by what we choose to build from the ruins. I've learned that the most devastating betrayals don't happen in an instant. They unfold over time, in small choices and calculated deceptions. The red flags I missed were not bright and obvious, but subtle, and easily explained away by a man who knew exactly how to manipulate my trust. So, if you see yourself in my story, if something feels wrong but you can't quite name it, trust that feeling. Ask the difficult questions. Demand honest answers. Because sometimes, the countdown to betrayal can be interrupted before it reaches 0. But only if you're brave enough to open your eyes and see what's right in front of you.